Welcome to the Backfield Buzz Podcast, a part of the Hive Podcast Network. As always, Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, and Andrew Foster here, keeping you up to date with all things NFL. Week 3 is in the books, like, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes ago. We're recording this on Monday night. We'll start with some thoughts on the Monday night games, and we'll get to some superlatives for the rest of the week. First off, Frosty, do you like this dual Monday night football primetime? I really like it, and I think they should do it more often.
I honestly like it. I kind of hated it when I first heard about it. I do like it. I like when, especially when they're offset starting times like this, when one's on halftime, you got the other one getting into the end of the first quarter. It's getting into the action, so I really like it.
I do like it from a watching football standpoint. Just straight up, if you got nothing else, no other, you're not thinking about anything else besides just the game. It's great having those two offset games. But what I love is in fantasy football, the one Monday night game. You got like one player in one game that needs one thing to win your match or whatnot. I love that aspect of fantasy football. But I'm also a fan of the two offset games. It does make for good football, especially when they're two good games. They were both good games this week, but still.
That's some give and take with it. I want to start with the Bengals and Commanders, and I want to ask you guys this question. I didn't really prep you guys for this, but Glover, are the let's start, yeah, Cincinnati, Washington, are the Commanders just like sneaky good, or are the Bengals just like sneaky bad?
Honestly, it's so tough because the Bengals do this every damn year. I don't think they've been 0-3 yet. So 0-3 is scary. That's a big hole, especially when two of those losses come against the Commanders and Patriots. But they fight out of this hole every now and then. I honestly don't know what to make of the Bengals, but I do think playoffs are becoming out of reach when you're 0-3 because the Ravens were in the same boat this week. If they had lost the Cowboys, there's a slim, very few select teams in NFL history that have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. So the Bengals always start slow, and you always have to account for that. But this is bad, especially being that they're pretty healthy. T. Higgins missed time, but Joe Burrow was healthy all offseason, or most of the offseason. Jamar Chase had the holdout, which, that's unfortunate, but that's not injury related. That's just on you to get your player under control. The You can dismiss the loss to the Chiefs. That was a good game. They lost on a close battle. These last losses are rough because I don't think the Commanders are all that. They haven't done anything crazy impressive this year. Lost to the Bucks pretty handily. Barely beat the Giants and beat the Bengals. It was a great win. Really great performance from a lot of good guys. Maybe they're a little bit better than expected, but they're not a good team.
I think Washington's turning into the definition of a trap game now. They're
Mm,
a team that can beat any team on any given night if you don't show up with your best game. But if you show up and play your best game, you should be able to take care of them. Now, the one wild card, Jaden Daniels looks absolutely unbelievable right now. The dime he dropped to Terry McLaurin near the end of the first half, the 50-yard pass. He hadn't thrown a 50+ yard air pass in his entire college career or in his NFL career until then, and he dropped it in the basket for him. Jaden Daniels just continues to evolve as a passer and as a player every single game, and it's getting scary.
yeah. The offense is what won them that game, and Jane Daniels specifically, because the defense didn't hold up very well. I mean, Burrow didn't turn the ball over. He's 3 touchdowns, 324 yards. He had a solid game, but Jane Daniels was just as efficient as you can ask out of a quarterback.
Well, there was no punts in that game at all.
Wow, that's
No
crazy.
punts, no turnovers. Every drive except the two kneel downs for Washington at the end of the first half and the end of the second half were those are the only two drives that didn't result in points.
I think the Commanders are firmly in the a wild card spot, in my opinion. I think there's maybe like 12 teams, 11 teams you can really narrow it down to at this point, honestly, even though it's early. I mean, let me go on this little tangent because I like Daniels coming in and he looks great. I mean, tonight, uh, yeah, just Frosty, you touched on it a little bit. He was fantastic. 254 passing yards, 21 to 23, two touchdowns. Really good. He just makes the throws he's supposed to. Like they're not like really up until this game, really, they weren't like pushing it down the field with him, but he's just super accurate. He coming into tonight, he led the league in completion percentage, over 75%. And I mean, yeah, now that they bring the DBs forward, and now he's showing that he can go a little bit deep. And you got Terry McLaurin there, who is somebody who can go deep. They invested in the O line, bring in Biadasz from Dallas, give him a 3-year deal, extended Cosme. The other three there are a little bit unproven, but they're playing well. Daniels had all day tonight to throw. And one other thing I really like, Kingsbury is doing a sneaky good job. He is scheming Daniels to perfection right now, and they look good. And when the O line doesn't uh hold up, Daniels is able to escape. He leads the NFL in gaining first downs off of scrambles with 8 after this game. It's Kingsbury scheming him up perfectly. The offense looks good. Like you said, Glover, concerns with the defense, but I mean, the offense looks great to me.
That's why I can't put them in the playoff or the wild card races because that defense is bad. It's not like you can't work around how bad that secondary is. The pass rush is non-existent at times. The linebackers, despite investing quite a bit into them, haven't been all that. I think that's where I can't put any faith or stock into that defense. The offense looks really good, and you could tell they talked all week about getting Terry McLaurin more involved in the offense. They did that, and it worked to perfection. There were so many opportunities where he was open, even beyond the ones that were caught. And they kept showing on the broadcast for those plays, where Terry was open. Ben Sinnott was getting open down the field a lot too. Like if they continue to develop their scheme and their game plan with Jaden Daniels to work the ball deep downfield, the offense looks dangerous. The defense needs to fix up their holes, though.
Yeah, it looks like Jaden Daniels, to me, easily looks like the smartest rookie quarterback. Because if he doesn't see anything he likes, he's not afraid to roll out. And it's not like he's rolling out and immediately tucking the ball and running. He has a ton of scramble yards. He scrambles a lot, but he still scrambles with his eyes downfield. He does it a lot like Josh Allen does. And that's what's helping him create these chunk plays. Because when nothing's open deep over the field like that, when you scramble out, Zach Ertz is one of the most sure-handed tight ends in history. He knows when his quarterback rolls out, he's going to run with him. He runs
Yeah.
across the field with him, and eventually he's going to cross over those defenders. And either Jaden Daniels is going to find him, and if he doesn't cross the defenders, they stay with Ertz. Daniels knows to tuck it and run. The Commanders' offense right now has 0 turnovers through 3 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, Ertz has had this experience. He played with a younger Kyler Murray, a younger Jalen Hurts, both scramble type quarterbacks who were younger. It's a really good fit, and it's a really good veteran piece to have to rely on in that offense.
Yeah, I think Daniels scrambles. Like he's great at scrambling. He's fantastic with his legs. He truly is. And I'm worried about the size a little bit, 185 pounds. Not sure he plays with too much anticipation right now at the moment, but as he gets more comfortable playing at NFL speed and just more familiar with their playbook, I'm sure that he can start thinking less and just kind of letting it rip a bit more to maybe push the ball downfield a bit more. But he's been really solid. So are we more Cincy sneaky bad or Washington sneaky good? Where's backfield buzz leaning?
I'm, ugh.
I'm
I
more
think
Washington is sneaky good in the context of this question.
I think I'm more Washington is sneaky good as well.
I think the Bengals have too much talent to be sneaky bad. I think I might have to go, yeah, Washington maybe is sneaky good, but I think the Bengals aren't sneaky bad, but they might be in too deep of a hole to actually go on a run this year. Not
All
because of
right.
their skill, just because of the way they started.
True, true. All right. Um, Now let's talk about the second Monday Night Football primetime game, and I'll ask a similar question, a bit more extreme. Is Buffalo the best team in the league, or is Jacksonville the worst team in the league? Which is closer at this point? Frosty.
I'm A, off Trevor Lawrence. Done with it. I'm tired of talking about this guy like he's a Peyton Manning clone. He's not. He is one of the bigger draft busts I think that we've seen recently. He's to me closer to Zach Wilson than he is to his potential going into the draft. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. He seems like barely a startable quarterback at this point. He turns the ball over like crazy. He was overthrowing wide open guys today. That interception to Damar Hamlin was that ball was a good 6 feet over the head of Brian Thomas Jr., who was wide open in the middle of the field, and he absolutely sailed it. He missed a couple throws to Brenton Strange, a couple throws in the end zone too. I I think this Jags team is a bottom feeder in the NFL right now.
And Trevor Lawrence wasn't just missing the overthrows. There was multiple occasions where he threw the ball 3 feet in front of the receiver, who's again wide open, and then she's got to jump down and it bounces off the ground before they can make a catch on it. It's really just not been good. But the problem is, you just signed him to a massive extension for no reason at all. I liked Trevor Lawrence this offseason. I was higher on the Jags as a whole as a team, and I liked what I had seen, and I liked the potential for Lawrence. I did not like it $55 million enough. Nowhere near, because he hadn't proven anything yet. And he had just come off one of the worst seasons he's had since he was a rookie, with 2 years left on his deal. And you give him a record-breaking extension? For what? Now you're stuck. You can't move on. You have Trevor Lawrence for the next 4 years, for as long as that contract plays out, because you can't cut him. That's dead money. You can't trade him because nobody's taking him. You're toast. It guarantees that Doug Peterson's fired at some point this year. I like it could be as soon as next week if they lose again. Doug Peterson's toast. And Trevor Lawrence does not look good. ETN doesn't look good either. He's looked extremely inefficient. He's dropping passes, he's slipping in the backfield, he's just not running very well at all. The defense looks abysmal. The Bills carved them up, even with Mitch Trubisky, and Mitch Trubisky came in and they still could carve them up. Like that was an embarrassing showing from the Jaguars. I think they are also definitely a bottom 10 team. They're getting to bottom five territory with the way they've been playing.
I think that Trevor Lawrence contract is starting to look more and more like a Daniel Jones contract every single time I see him play.
If it doesn't turn around quickly, it's the worst contract in the league. Worse than Deshaun Watson, worse than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence has the most turnovers in the league since he joined at 61. That's fumbles and interceptions. He's had fumble problems as well. Uh, it isn't just his fault, to be fair. Defense is bad all around. I thought Devin Lloyd got abused today, unfortunately. Secondary is weak, for sure. I'm not sure. Like it looks like they'll probably be second worst in passing yards allowed per game after this with 283 per game. Baltimore only allowing them more than them at 291. Um, Allen threw all over them once again. Defense is bad all around. Drop passes. There was a lot of drops today when Trevor was accurate. Um, all around, yeah, they are not looking too good. But how about this Buffalo team? Is it just now that they have just beat up on, a bad Miami team, or at least it wasn't the best showing from Miami, and then Tua goes down, and now it's just a bad Jacksonville team, which we all just agreed on? Or is Buffalo just really the best team in the league because no one else is really taking the mantle?
I I could see it. Like I can't put them over the Chiefs because, as I said, going through our division previews, until the Chiefs are dead in the water out of the playoffs, they're my pick to win it all. They're the best team in the league. Despite how Mahomes has been playing, they're still 3-0 against three pretty good teams. I'm going to still take the Chiefs, but the Bills are the clear-cut second best team in the NFL right now without question. Because they beat up on bad teams. Sure, but the Cardinals look real solid. They won that game. The Dolphins are supposed to be a top team, and everyone likes to go, it doesn't count because Tua got hurt. Tua got hurt in the fourth quarter after playing 75% of that game. They destroyed them. They locked up Waddle, they locked up Hill. Tua looked lost against that defense. And then tonight it was just a pumping. Like the big question mark for the Bills was, can their offense stay productive with the loss of Stephon Diggs? And will the defense be able to step up? Yes and yes. The offense looks better and the defense looks better. They look amazing on all fronts.
I will say the one thing I still want to see from them is I still want to see them play an elite defense. We
Yeah.
haven't seen them even, I don't think, play an above average defense yet. I don't think Arizona, Miami, or Jacksonville, any of them are above league average. But as of right now, there's nothing against the Bills except that. They've looked unstoppable offensively. Their defense has looked incredible so far. It doesn't look like they've lost anybody. They lost two all-pro safeties and an all-pro linebacker to injury in the first game of the season. Like they look incredible right now. It doesn't look like it matters who's on the field to them.
It was really nice for me to see them adapt to their opponent this game. They wanted to be run heavy. They've been run heavy to start the season up until today. I mean, Allen was averaging 21 pass attempts coming into tonight, threw 30 times today for 4 touchdowns. They knew Jacksonville had a bad secondary, and they attacked the weakness. I'm glad that the new OC there from last season is allowing, they're being adaptable, and they showed that there might not be a stud on this receiving core, but they're scheming everybody's strengths really well. They have Shakir working the middle of the field, getting Samuel in on these end around whatnots, taking shots down the field with Keon Coleman. Just how we were talking about, they have these they're like eight receivers deep, including the tight ends. You got Kincaid who's still doing his thing. I mean, that Allen could just do whatever he wants for if he identifies the coverage and he knows what they're putting the players in the right positions and Allen's making it all work.
Yeah. And next week will be a real big week. If both teams are playing on their game for 4 quarters, which is, an unknown with Baltimore, but Baltimore Buffalo will be a good Sunday night game if both teams are playing to the level that we know they can play at. And it'll be a big telling matchup for both sides.
And Buffalo's one of the best teams at defending the run.
Yeah, that'll be big.
So
That'll be
that
big.
that D line's been playing really well.
Yeah.
Let's open it up now to the rest of week 3 with our superlatives. Let's start with the best game, preferably not from tonight. I'm making you guys not choose tonight for this one at least. It'll be hard to maybe for some other categories, but what did you guys like on Sunday? I guess Thursday as well.
Well, I don't think the Thursday night game was the best game. That was a snooze fest. But
Yeah.
there don't even there's no argument for that game. I'm gonna go with Rams Niners. That game seemed over. The Niners had the ball. The Niners were way ahead. Well, not way ahead, but they were ahead enough. They could have killed the clock. And then the Rams, out of nowhere, 3-play drive for a touchdown, force a quick punt by the Niners, and then 2 plays to get into field goal range, get a game-winning field goal with 2 seconds left. That is insane. That's cinema. That's football right there. That was a really crazy game between two division rivals that don't like each other very much. So it was a really, really good game.
Yeah, that game was insane. Um, I'm going Chiefs Falcons though. I think that game I thought had the makings of possibly the Falcons getting exposed a little bit by the Chiefs. I was a little afraid of that as a Falcons believer. They didn't. They stayed with the Chiefs all game. Rice went absolutely crazy. Um, and I thought that was just a really good. It seemed like two teams that were evenly matched the entire game from start to finish. And I like watching football games that are like that.
Yeah, okay. I'm surprised neither of you guys said Ravens Cowboys. Maybe you guys were just both stressed. Baltimore got outscored in the fourth quarter, 19 by Dallas, but held on by 3, winning 20-25. Interesting game, maybe stressing out from both sides for you guys, but I thought that one was all right.
It, it was a good game. It had no damn right to be a good game. It should have been a blowout. There was no reason for me to be sitting on my couch with my hands on my head, with my heart beating a mile a minute in the fourth quarter when we were up 28-6. I was so happy to just get a win, but man, that is might be one of the worst ways to get a win because the fourth quarter Ravens suck. They can't play with the lead. They did it against Las Vegas. They almost did it against the Cowboys. Put the foot on the neck and step down. Don't take the foot off the damn gas pedal.
So I hated that game, and I think it exposed a lot of things wrong with the Cowboys. And I don't know if this is me overreacting after two, in my opinion, terrible games. They played essentially 1 quarter of good football out of the last 8, and it was the fourth quarter against the Ravens.
But what are
Um,
the concerns for the Cowboys? What's going wrong?
you can't run and you can't stop the run.
Yep.
If
Yep.
you can't control the line of scrimmage on either side of the ball, and regardless of who you're going to play against right now, you're going to get dominated. Their D line has absolutely no business getting dominated the way that it was, especially by the Ravens O line, who we've already seen get eaten alive twice
Yeah.
this season going into that game. There's no reason for that. To me, right now, I think the Dallas Cowboys are better than 3 teams in the NFC, and that's it. I think they're better than the Panthers. I think they're better than the Bears. I think they're better than the Giants. And those are the only 3 teams I think the Dallas Cowboys are a better football team than right now because they're too soft to stop the run and they're too soft to run the football.
Well, yeah, like that's why it was so baffling to me why that game got close. Because all night the Ravens locked down the top receiver. CeeDee Lamb was very quiet. So was Jake Ferguson. These guys were all pretty quiet up until that fourth quarter. They obviously stuffed the run. Dak hadn't gotten much going through the air. He was trying to spread the ball around but couldn't find anything. Then it gets to the fourth quarter. Every down is an obvious passing situation, and they can't possibly run the ball. And we just decided to sit back and watch Dak Prescott carve up the middle of the field. We just let him take what he could get, and it worked to perfection nearly because we backed off, basically played prevent defense all damn fourth quarter, and Dak was able to get up to 379 passing yards in a game that should have just been over. The Ravens go passive when they are up with the lead, and it's why John Harbaugh has blown the most fourth quarter leads in the past 3 seasons. Needs to
I will
change
say
this. Yeah, it was unreal.
it was kind of ridiculous to watch the Ravens defense sit back that much when pressuring and like playing physical with the receivers what was dominating them the entire game up to that point. I will say though, the one player on offense that actually impressed me that game was Dak. He
Yeah.
made a ton of tight window throws because there was no separation for the first 3 quarters of that game. Every single throw he tried to make was a tight window throw, and that those really aren't throws that you see Dak make a lot of the time. So seeing him make those throws was good, but you're not going to win very many football games against competitive teams when the MVP of your team is your kicker.
Yeah. The other thing with Dak is he faced a lot of pressure. The Ravens
Oh
get
yeah.
into the backfield very well. Kyle Van Noy had a great game. Matabike had a great game. Should have had a safety, but whatever.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was crazy. That was a
oh, oh,
crazy
I
call.
don't understand that at all. Odafe Owa also had a great game. He had a dumb penalty too, but the rush was really good. The rush is showing up well for the Ravens. But yeah, for Dak, he threw the ball 51 times. Like it was obvious, and it still somehow worked against our stupid defense in the fourth quarter. But yeah.
So it sounds like this was the worst game for both of you. I misjudged how you guys were feeling that day.
I would have been a lot happier. Again, I would have gone and easily picked the Ravens as the best team. The Ravens, the Cowboys, all this pro Ravens stuff. They hadn't decided to forget how to play football in the fourth quarter.
Well, is there any other worst games you guys just didn't want to watch this week? I mean, you got some doozies, to be fair. I mean, could you say Giants Browns? I mean, honestly, Malik Neighbors would make me want to tune in regardless at this point. Colts Bears didn't seem too interesting. Steelers Chargers had a historically low over under and it hit.
That's Steelers Chargers is a good shout, but I gotta talk Jets Patriots. That game was just boring. 24-3, the Patriots looked outmatched all game. Like I was hoping for a little bit more competitiveness because the way the New England defense had looked in week one and week two, man, they sucked. The Jets just worked them. And you know it's bad when the Jets can work the Patriots because the Patriots own the Jets, like in every sense of the word. But Aaron Rodgers was just carving them up, and I don't think that Patriots O line could have blocked anyone that night. They were just Jacoby Brissett. Drake May better buy that man whatever he wants because he is single-handedly saving his rookie season. Because if Drake May was starting, he'd be cooked, and everyone would be hating on him, and he'd just be his career would be over by the time it started. Because Brissett had no chance. Every time he threw the ball, he was just landing on his ass and getting smoked. It was just brutal. That O line needs to figure it out because that
I,
was bad.
I mean, are the Patriots your worst team as well? Can you kind of parlay that?
Uh, I'll do it. Yeah, I'll parlay it. I'll put them in there. There was a lot of teams you could have gone for worst team, but yeah, I'll go Patriots because again, yeah, the defense didn't show up. The run game, which would have been their strength, was irrelevant. Brissett, you don't expect much out of Brissett, but he wasn't good, and the O line was terrible. There was nothing good about that game for the Patriots.
Uh, for me, it's Dolphins Seahawks. This I Nothing was exciting about that game. They went a combined 4 for 23 on third down. 4 for 23. Like that's the Dolphins almost had as many penalties as they did first downs. They had 11 penalties of 13 first downs. The Seahawks also had 11 penalties that game. Like it's just at 24, the Dolphins only put up 3 points. The Dolphins almost were my worst team as well, but I'm giving it to Jacksonville. I know you said we couldn't say it. I can't go against it. I mean they oh my God, they look bad. They looked
Honestly,
like the Florida State of the NFL.
honestly, the funniest thing about it was when Mac Jones finally came, takes his first snap, pump fakes, gets sacked for a fumble. It's like, oh my God. Like, could this go any worse? You got Trevor Lawrence. He goes over to Trevor Lawrence. It's okay, man. It's okay. No, it's not. You guys suck. It's not okay. Like, oh my God. At
Yeah, state of Florida is in shambles. FSU, Jacksonville.
least they
I
got
mean,
Miami, not the Dolphins.
No,
Miami.
yeah,
Miami. Yeah.
Dolphins are looking
Dolphins suck
bad.
too.
I mean, the Heat had a down year. Rays are having a down year.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, Tampa lost Stamkos. I don't know what's going on. Florida.
Hey, they had their run of championships, and that when the Bucks lost to the Broncos, they had a really bad time.
Ooh,
But yeah, they had their run of championship with the Lightning and the Rays and the Buccaneers. Now it's over.
All right. Well, yeah. I think Steelers Chargers could deserve a show because every Steelers game is going to be in contention for worst game. They haven't allowed more than 10 points this year at all. Like they have only allowed 26 points in general. Haven't played the best of offenses, to be fair, but Steelers defense has been locking it down. All right, so we kind of parlayed the worst game, worst team there. Who'd you guys think looked the best? Best team?
I'm gonna go with the Minnesota Vikings. I hate to do it to you, but they looked good. That was an insane showing from a game that I thought was gonna be pretty heavily in Houston's favor. But Brock Purdy wasn't kidding. Brian Flores' scheme is crazy. You get CJ Stroud to throw two picks. He doesn't turn the ball over at all. And their offense just looked out of their element. Like, Nico Collins was held in check. 10 targets, only four catches. He got 86 yards, but wasn't getting a lot of catchable targets. And they carved up the Houston defense. I mean, Sam Darnold threw four touchdowns. Aaron Jones, my start of the week, had 102 yards on the ground along with a touchdown and 46 receiving yards. Like the Minnesota Vikings look legit. I mean, it was easy to go like, oh, they just had an easy first 2 weeks, no real, nothing crazy, whatever, a couple upsets. This was a big game for them to show up and say, we're still here. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach, could be considered a top 10 coach with the way what he's doing with this roster. This is a great team that's well coached on all sides of the ball. They looked really good.
yeah. I I think the Vikings were my number two team. I got to give love to the Carolina Panthers and the Red Rifle, baby. Oh my God, the Red Rifle came out slinging. Good Lord. He went absolutely crazy. The only quarterback with 300 yards and three touchdowns this season in his first game. He gets them their first win of the season. Like he, Andy Dalton looked like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback on the Carolina Panthers, who Bryce Young had been making look like clearly the worst team in the league so far this year.
Who would have thought this would have been the discussion we're having literally a week ago? And a week ago, we all had them as the worst team. We all had this long discussion about how terribly bad this team is. They are worst of the worst, one of the worst teams you've ever watched play football. And they come out and just dismantle the Raiders, who beat the Ravens a week ago. Like,
We
oh
did,
my God.
I will say we did all say pretty much that we thought Dalton was going to look better with them, and I think it was easy to see.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Better. I did better, but like by better, I meant like threw more than 100 yards, didn't could see over the O line, made a couple of reads. Not 300 yards and three touchdowns en route to a dominating performance.
he had time to pass. They were giving Bryce time to pass too. So,
Yeah.
uh, all right. Offensive player of the week. We're gonna move to some player stuff now. Frosty, who went off for you?
Um, for me, he might not have the best stats this week, but I'm going Saquon Barkley. Just because the Eagles could do absolutely nothing against the Saints offensively. They got down to the red zone, I think, twice, and Jalen Hurts turned the ball over both times they got down there. They're down. They have 3 points in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden, Saquon breaks off a 65-yard touchdown run, and then they march down the field, give it to Saquon again. He gets the 2-point conversion. Saquon, after in the game, in their last week, he put the team on his back this week. He put the offense on his back and looked absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah. Saquon was a guy I'm considering, or I was considering. I gotta go Derrick Henry. I mean, like, that was what I've been waiting to see. That's what I was waiting to see, man. 25 carries, 151 yards with two touchdowns. He had a catch for 23 yards. Like, this is what happens when you give him the damn rock. Let him rumble. Some power runs, get power card moving, and just let Derrick Henry get to the second level, and then he'll run anyone over. He had some mean stiff arms. He made Kalen Carson look like he stunned him multiple times. That was a bad game for Carson because there was every time I saw a Cowboys defender go flying or get thrown off, I saw the name Carson in the back of the jersey. I'm like, oh man, that's a tough week. But that's like the Cowboys defense. Yeah, we mentioned it, it's not a great run defense, but it does wonders for the entirety of the Ravens scheme when Derrick Henry gets the ball. Because the reason the run works so well is because we saw on so many occasions the Cowboys defenders got frozen because the read option was working to perfection. I've been saying this for weeks. If the Ravens can get the run game working, the read option is what they should live and die by. It won them that game on that third down play to Zay Flowers, and it got Lamar that touch. The rushing touchdown he had, Micah Parsons was frozen. There was a lot of times where Micah Parsons just followed Henry to the backfield, and Lamar squeaked out the backside. If the Ravens can work Henry into the offense more efficiently, I don't care if Lamar throws 12 passes. That's going to work because defenses can't possibly fully commit to one without the other one burning them.
At 270 or so yards on the ground for Baltimore in that game, 151 of them by Derrick Henry and a pair of touchdowns. Kind of hard to go anywhere else but Derrick Henry. Uh, it's so Glover, who's your defensive player? And hopefully not a Raven.
No, no. There wasn't a lot of defensive players to go off of. It was a really weak defensive week, to be totally honest. I'm going with Jonathan Grenard. He had three, I think it was 3 sacks. I pulled up his game log here, but he revenge
Yeah, it
game.
was 3 sacks.
He had been let go by the Texans. Comes in 3 sacks, 4 tackles, three QB hits. Really good. The Vikings defense was disrupting Houston, getting in the backfield all game long, and Grenard was the big leading factor in that. He had a really, really good game.
Yeah, I I like revenge games. I like putting revenge games on here too. I was gonna
Oh,
say
no, we don't like revenge games.
we
Not when
do,
it's
Yeah, what happened to
we
Daniel
do.
Hunter's revenge game?
Yeah, it was a double
It was a
revenge
double
game. Just
revenge game.
only
no,
one guy
guys,
got revenge.
guys, this was more than a double revenge game. There's so many
Oh, Cam
players
Akers
who have played
too.
on both teams.
Stephon Diggs.
Grenard, Blake Cashman, I almost said Kaimi Fairbairn. The linebacker that they also have, Kamu Grugier-Hill,
Right? Yeah.
was a former Texan who was making noise. And then on the Texas side, yeah, you got Daniil Hunter. They had a couple more as well.
Cam
Cam
Akers.
It's
Akers, Stephon
yes,
Diggs.
Cam Akers,
Stephon
Stephon
Diggs.
Diggs.
Wow.
So there was a big storyline coming in was just the amount of familiarity that was on either side. I didn't want to talk about this game, but you brought it up again to me, Glover. Like, what is this?
I hate to do it to you. My team finally got a win, man. I'm gonna gloat. I'm gonna talk my talk. I need it. I need it. I just need it. It's been a rough first 2 weeks. I need this week. And it just so happened that the Ravens get their win against the Cowboys while the Texans have a terrible week. It worked very well in my favor.
I
It was
will
just
also say when the Cowboys and Ravens both lost last week, there was definitely some shots getting directed our way
Yeah,
when
let's not act
the
like it's
big
a
bad
one-win
Texans
streak.
were 2-0 at that point. Now the maybe not so big but still bad Texans aren't don't quite look quite as odd as they did before.
Who's on the other foot now?
I will say happy to be 2-1, happy to have a winning record after this week because yeah, so you just nothing went right. Like Fairbairn misses a kick, which is something he hasn't done this year. He missed one last season, which is just like that's one thing to go wrong. Then Stroud on the first drive gets tip pass by the D line and it's a pick. And it was just nothing went right. Jefferson had a good day, of course. A lot of the Texans numbers look better because in garbage time they were getting some more yards. But yeah, Flores cooked it up, and I like Darnold threw 4 TD passes, but like he only had 181 yards. Like he was good enough to win. They just and then Aaron Jones ran all over them. This has been a traditionally good run defense, and Aaron Jones had 100 yards on the ground. So. Flags are also massive again, like least disciplined team in the NFL. Laremy Tunsil has the most penalties on him. Then any other offensive lineman in the league with 10. He had four last game. Brutal, brutal.
Yeah, I can relate to in the flag thing. The Ravens got way too many flags in that game too. It's part of the reason the Cowboys got back into it.
Yeah, it was fun seeing Twitter go crazy. Texas Twitter's been pretty calm in the waters up until after this loss, and lots of chatter that could be bubbling, could be some concerns, but let's move on because I don't want to talk about that any longer. What should we move on to next? Let's go to defensive player. Frosty, do you need to give you a defensive player?
I would say Jonathan Bernard, but I do want to give a little bit of love to
Okay.
Jalen Jones, the corner for the Colts.
Yeah.
Two picks and a 5-point win over the Bears is making a difference on the defensive side of the ball in a week where not a ton of guys stood out defensively. I just want to give him a quick little shout out, you know?
There you go. There you go. Well, I would say let's do Rookie of the Year, but I feel like we all kind of just had to insert Jaden Daniels conversation here.
Yeah, it was a great week for rookies in general. I
Who else
mean,
did you like?
well, I'll give Malik Neighbors his flowers. I'll take that off your shoulders there. He looked amazing. If I'm a Giants fan, the only thing that concerns me is he might be too good because he might save Daniel Jones's job. That's what he's doing right now. Is he's making Daniel Jones look like a good quarterback, exactly the same way Saquon Barkley did the year he got that contract extension. It's great. He looks amazing. The body control on that second, I think it was the second touchdown catch, might have been the first one. Unreal to catch that, spin around and get the toes in. Amazing. He absolutely mossed Martin Emerson Jr. on one play on the sideline too, and got the toes in. He looks really good. He's looked like one of the best receivers in the NFL this season, and that's all with Daniel Jones playing him inaccurate balls most of the game. So he looked really, really good. But yeah, as a Giants fan, you can't help the back of your mind going to, oh my God, are we gonna get another year of Daniel Jones? Because he's getting them to a point where they'll be maybe outside the top five picks in terms of, they won't be able to grab one of the quarterbacks in this class if you want one of them. And maybe they don't want to take a quarterback because, oh, wait, Daniel Jones looks good again. But we'll see.
I will say I Malik Neighbors looked unbelievable. Roma Dunze also looked really, really good. Over 100 yards in his first touchdown. But another guy that kind of flew under the radar was Carson Steele, the running back for the Chiefs. He stepped up with Pacheco out, 17 carries, 72 yards. He didn't do anything flashy, 4.2 yards a carry, but he kept getting yards on the ground every single time the Chiefs needed it. His longest run was only 9 yards. He didn't have the explosive plays, but only having a 9 yard run as your longest and averaging over four a carry means you're getting yards every single time you're touching the ball. And that's the most important thing for the Chiefs. As long as they can keep getting yards on the ground, Patrick Mahomes will do his thing. So Carson Steele's, I think, going to become a bigger, and bigger part of this Chiefs offense.
I also do want to give a quick shout. He's not quite rookie of the week level, but Bo Nix had a good bounce back.
Oh, let me go to Bo next
You
because
want to go, Bo Nix? I'll let you take the floor on Bo Nix.
that's who I was gonna bring up. 216 in the air, 25 of 36, 47 along the ground and a touchdown, including a magical 22-yard scramble. Uh yeah, Bo Nix, shocker in Tampa Bay. 26-7 win for Denver. Bo Nix led them to a win, which is great. This is the best he's looked. Good for him, honestly. Good for him.
Yeah, it was a good bounce back, especially after he may have had more passing yards last week, but that was heavily inflated by one flea flicker throw that went like 70 yards. Whereas this week, 216 yards, moving the ball consistently well down the field, much more accurate, up from 57% completion percentage to 69% completion percentage. Didn't turn the ball over, which has been a big problem for him, and was actually working more beyond the line of scrimmage with his throws. It looked really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was just say that's the main thing that I want to see from Bo Nix is I want to see him start to be able to make deeper reads down the field, past guys that are his first option and past maybe in the first down markers, and be able to see him take those intermediate level throws instead of just the dump offs every time. And he looked good, and that's what he was doing this game.
hey, he was the best quarterback in the game, and someone on this podcast thinks the other one on the other side is a top 10 guy.
He
Decent
still is.
sneaky defense, sneaky defense there in Denver, I will say. little sneaky defense. Allowed 7 points against Tampa. I mean, they allowed 13 points against Pittsburgh, 26 against Seattle, but forced a couple safeties in that. Overall, the defense has played pretty well this season, and I don't know, like the AFC West has overall played better than people thought. The NFC South has overall played better than people have thought. Um,
Yeah.
there's it's interesting, at least to start the year here.
Yeah, the defense is solid, but I mean, I don't know. I'm still, it was a great win for the Broncos. I'm still out. This is a big upset for them, but that's all it is. This isn't a long-term successful thing, I think. I
Just
mean,
saying, defense has been solid.
yeah, but holding the Steelers to 13 points, that offense isn't great. It looked better this week, but like,
Hey,
I'm not gonna get all up in the arms that the Broncos are gonna go on a bit of a run here.
no, I'm just saying the sneaky defense. That's what I said.
Yeah,
Sneaky
yeah,
defense. If
okay,
Bo Nix was able to establish more offense in the first
yeah.
game against Seattle, I think they would have scored a lot less points, and the defense would have ultimately been great or better than what they showed. But all right, enough of the Bo Nix talk. Surprise player of the week, which I guess could be Bo Nix, but we said no rookies, even though I broke that last week. Who surprised you, Frosty?
I'm actually gonna give love to, I believe, the guy that Logan said to start this week as a wide receiver in Jawan Jennings. Oh my God. He was getting comparisons to that Randy Moss stat line with the 3 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown. He went insane. He looked better than Brandon Ayuk did this game. He looked like by far he
Yeah.
should be the number one option without Debo, George Kittle, and Christian McCaffrey when you're down your three all pros. So when those guys are out and if they're not back right away, I think he's become Brock Purdy's number one target in the time being.
Yep. I got like there was a couple other guys I was considering. Andy Dalton was one of them that I was considering. I'm gonna go with Jawan Jennings too. I'm gonna agree with you here because I wanted to talk about him a little bit as offensive player of the week. He was one of the best just offensive players in general, but I had to go with Derrick Henry. But I mean, yeah, 11 catches on 12 targets for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brock Purdy loves him because I that's what I was talking about when I started him was the past couple weeks with Kittle and Debo in the lineup, he looked Jawan Jennings' way a lot. For some reason, he looked his way a lot. Bang, here we go. You're down three of your four all pros on offense. There's Jawan Jennings, a legitimate career performance right there. That might be one of the best receiver performances we see all year. 11 catches for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. If you listen to me despite my poor track record of start sits, I did you a great favor and definitely won you your week if you started Jawan Jennings. I would be amazed to find anyone who lost a week starting Jawan Jennings with 45 plus points.
They could have listened to your other start and started Zamir
No,
White
no,
too,
no,
and
no,
that
let's
wouldn't
not.
have helped.
I listened to that start and I lost my week, so let's not do that.
I will say I did listen to you. I started Juwan Jennings in our league against Cody and
There you go.
got a win there.
There
So
you go. Sorry, Cody.
It's all good. 0-4 in fantasy leagues this week. Bad week in general to be Cody. Texans get blown out 0-4. This was the Glover week one we were kind of laughing about. No bets hit. Close again. But yeah, it's the Jennings and Mason show in San Fran. Okay.
Obviously, duh.
yeah,
Well, anything else stand out for you guys that you want to bring up? Anything started to creep in your mind? You know how I had that Daniels, maybe Denver sneaky defense. Any storylines that you guys like kind of building through? Because I feel like you need 3, 4 weeks at the start of a football season to really like get a hold of what these teams are actually like. Um, a lot
But
of interesting storylines. Like if you look at these 3-0 teams, these undefeated teams, you got Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Minnesota, and Seattle, which is I mean,
obvious.
yeah, you got Buffalo and KC there, but don't look now, but the Seahawks are 3-0, Steelers are 3-0, and Minnesota is 3-0. So
Yeah. Mike McDonald, same thing as Kevin O'Connell, looks like he's coaching that team really well. Ryan Grubb, the new OC, is working the offense amazingly, and McDonald does wonders with the defense as expected. I also want to touch on the Chiefs. 3-0. Mahomes, they're 3-0, and Mahomes is playing.
without Mahomes or Kelsey, yeah.
He's playing some of the worst football of his career, and Kelsey's invisible. like I don't know whether I should be like, oh, Mahomes isn't playing well, or just scared because he isn't playing well and they're still winning. Like this team is so annoying. Like I love to point out how bad Mahomes has been these past 2 weeks, but it wouldn't matter because they're 3-0 and they've beaten three good teams. It's just like right when you think there's something going your way for the Chiefs, whether it's Kelsey being washed up, or Mahomes playing not well. Nope, 3-0 defense carries them to the wins. They get a couple calls to go their way, like that Kyle Pitts one in the end zone, which is all over NFL Twitter. That's all anyone's talking about how that Pitts call wasn't a PI. And you can't blame them after the Chiefs got a PA call to go their way to win last week. It's just the way it goes. But yeah, he was good week one against the Ravens, but two back-to-back poor performances from Patrick Mahomes with questionable interceptions as well. And they still are 3-0. Unfortunate.
Well, a couple of fun things look ahead at week four. Let me just bring up some storylines that I got going into week four. I mean, Dallas, you'd think needs a win against the Giants. Like they need
Has to.
to. That's your prime time on Thursday.
Has
Uh,
to.
you can't fall you can't be in Super Bowl talks when if you're gonna fall to 1-3 and lose to the Giants. Saints and Falcons is a cool matchup in the NFC South. I think that it could get some eyes to it. Um, Carolina Cincy, the Red
Red
Rifle.
Rifle revenge game.
Can
And the Cincy
Cincy,
Bengals look bad.
I mean, if they lose to Carolina and Andy Dalton, the memes, they're going to be in an 0-4 hole, which basically writes the ship off of anything. And then Carolina's all of a sudden going to be 2-2, especially one of those NFC South teams losing. I mean, they're within one game of the division right now. Carolina is. Um, Jacksonville's coming to Houston. Thank God. We need to bounce back. Let's regroup against somehow a team that's worse. Honestly, I said coming into the year that the AFC South was sneaky. I apologize.
No, they suck.
No,
I
Yeah,
terrible.
apologize for
it's
that.
not
Terrible.
good.
Terrible. Outside of Houston, they're 1-8. They have one combined win between the other three teams.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
Will Levis looks like poop. Uh, Anthony Richardson's gonna get boxed up by this Pittsburgh defense.
oh God,
Um,
this is rough.
coming into next week. So we'll see. Honestly, after the Commanders win, Commanders Cardinals is looking kind of fun too.
Hey, there's some other like I mean, Chiefs Chargers will be interesting because Herbert looks hurt and Derwin James just got suspended, so that'll be fun to watch if you're a Chiefs fan. I mean, I think
Big test for Baltimore as well. Yeah.
it's great that we got the win. I'd love to be in the boat with you. I'm like, oh, thank God, we got an easy matchup now. Nope, it just only gets harder. We play the Bills this week, play the Bengals the week after that, which might be an easy matchup. We'll see how they go do this week. But I mean, Seahawks Lions Monday Night Football, that looks really solid. That could be a real fun game, seeing how Mike Reynolds' defense matches up with Dan Campbell's offense. He did really well against them last year. That'll be fun. There's some really good games. I mean, Vikings Packers, Malik Willis.
I mean, we didn't really talk about Willis, but he's
He
looked
looked good.
solid. LaFleur
Yeah,
got him going.
Matt LaFleur, another underrated. There's a lot of great coaches in this league that almost get slept on because it's the same few that always win. Like LaFleur's an elite coach in this league for sure.
I mean, do we any Bears Rams love?
I was going to say that. I I want to say we've given Jade Daniels his flowers. We've given Bo Nix his flowers. I want to give Caleb Williams his flowers because every single time he's dropped back in the pocket, he's looked more and more and more comfortable and more NFL ready. He started off, he looked terrible. He had about zero point 0.3 seconds to get the ball out of his hand before there was a 400-pound lineman in his face. And the Bears' offensive line is terrible. That's not, I don't know if you guys saw the picture, that speed option they ran on 4th and goal, where all of their linemen are laying in the end zone. They're terrible. They're not giving Caleb Williams any amount of time. But he threw the ball 52 times this week against Indy, 363 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's looking better and better and more comfortable. I think we could see a good game, an even better game than he had this week against Indy when he does against the Rams, and maybe he starts to take care of the ball a little bit more. That's really what I'm looking to see for him as the next step.
Yeah, and the Rams secondary has not been great, but yeah, Caleb Williams looked much better this game, and it's unfortunate that they lost because you all you see is people just turning the conversation around because Justin Fields is 3-0 and Caleb Williams is 1-2. That's a stupid narrative. If you watched a second of Bears football this year and thought Caleb Williams was the reason they're 1-2, you're an idiot. Because that O line is terrible, and he's still making it work. He's still working the ball down the field. He's still missing a couple of the deep shots here and there, but the throw he made to Romo Dunze on the sideline there was a thing of beauty. And he's doing all this with no run game and no O line. Give him his flowers. He's not coming into the league and instantly a top 10 quarterback like maybe some people for some reason expected, but he's coming along very nicely in a pretty rough situation.
Yeah, I feel like Stroud kind of just set people's minds wonky about how rookie QBs are supposed to look. Like Stroud, that was historic what he did in his rookie season. Like not many guys have done what he's done. I mean, yeah, Williams, I mean, I believe he's now thrown for the same amount of 300-yard passing games as Justin Fields did has in his career. So, I mean, yeah, we should be talking about Caleb Williams, but yeah, 363 yards last week, two touchdowns, two INTs, but he got sacked four times. His best game by far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Look, it was a good thing, and if I'm a Bears fan, there's a lot of hope with what you're getting out of Caleb Williams. I would not be afraid at all.
Nice to see Rome come
Oh yeah,
alive as well.
Yeah.
yeah, real big game for him. They both. The funniest thing is their first career touchdowns were from each other. Caleb's first career touchdown was to Rome, so cut that ball in half or just do something with that. That'll be fun.
Cut the ball in half. All right, well,
You gotta get the ball to someone. So you can't you go every week. They get week on, week off with the first touchdown ball. Like I don't know, like little split
They get
little
split
fraternity
custody.
thing. Like custody. Yeah. Go to court for the ball.
maybe they'll have to just both sign it and send it to the Hall of Fame or something if it goes there. I don't know.
Boring. Split custody.
Well, I like how the show went today. We reacted to the Monday night games, did our superlatives, and then a little look ahead for next week. I kind of like how that flowed, but I mean that's it. Unless you guys have anything else you want to get off your chest. All right. Well, thanks for watching. The Backfield does. Check out the rest of the High Podcast Network. Lots of NHL stuff on there as of right now. NHL season's right around the corner too, fellas. It's crazy that we're almost in October now. So I mean, football's here basically. We're almost settled into the season. Uh, keep an eye out for fantasy and betting preview. Some of us are good at the fantasy side of things. Some of us are good at the betting side of things. Uh, maybe so we can all talk it out at the preview episode that should come out in a couple days time or so.
Thursday. Hopefully Thursday.
I've been pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Been pretty consistent.
Thursday afternoon. That'll be when that's up. Check it out.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Cody Wiles, Logan Glover, Andrew Foster here. Keep you updated as always. Keep it buzzing.